Hello, this is Shambhavi. Welcome to Satsang. Satsang is an ancient spiritual practice from India. It means being in reality together. I give Satsang live every Wednesday and Sunday night in Portland, Maine. This Dharma talk was recorded during one of our Wednesday night gatherings. Please visit jayakula.org to learn more about the teachings. You can find video satsangs on Jayakula's YouTube channel, and my books are all available on Amazon.com. Much love to you, wherever and however you are. One thing I was struck by this week in my interactions with some people in the mandala is how few people are able to access real intelligence. We have something we call intelligence. And the reason why that ordinary function we call intelligence isn't really what I call intelligence is because that ordinary function we call intelligence is operating under the mistaken impression of a navamala, sense of separation. So that ordinary intelligence that most people are operating with most of the time is telling you, and most of the time completely unconsciously, you're operating with this assumption that you are the main factor in charting a course in your life. So you use that ordinary intelligence to evaluate, to analyze, to plan, to think about possibilities, what could happen, what might happen, to compare and contrast, to think about pros and cons. And it's all based on the experience of separation. That you can decide and plan and analyze in a vacuum, all by your little lonesome self. And that what's going on in your mind is a real engagement with life and a real description of what is happening in reality. And we are so overcome with this mistaken concept of ordinary intelligence. It is so unintelligent. Just really struck me this week how much people are struggling trying to make their way in life using this ordinary intelligence based on a experience of and feeling of separation, and this completely false view that you can analyze and plan and interpret and explain and come up with, course A and course B and course C, and on your own decide what to do. And that will be, you will have done your due diligence when you go through that process all by yourself, or talking to other people who are operating under exactly the same assumption that you are. This is a really barren way to go through life. Real intelligence is full of connection to the livingness of the moment, and is fully aware of how much we live in a mandala of infinite magnitude. The best we can do as humans who are unenlightened is to try to feel in the moment and use the tools that we have, using our mind and our senses to reach out into reality and try to actually feel just what is the next right move. One of the main mistakes that this ordinary intelligence makes is thinking that you can predict with reasonable certainty or act on a plan of action with some reasonable prediction of what steps 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are going to be. This is completely wrong. Because you make a move and a whole world responds. How can your next move be intelligent at all if it was based on what was happening at move 1? You're in a situation, a living situation, with other people. You, in the best of circumstances, you make a move based on that matrix of livingness that you're in right now. And then lots of new avenues happen, lots of new situations spring up. And then you have to feel that moment, right? And then make a next move in response to that. If you have steps 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6 planned out, you are living in a dead world. And everybody thinks that's so smart. Right? It's not intelligent at all. What happens if you're sitting thinking about how you're going to move through some period of time, what you're going to do, what choices you're going to make, and you make your plan based on your presumptions and analysis, and then I'm going to do this, and then that's going to happen, then I'm going to do this, and then that's going to happen. And then you actually try to make all that happen. That's just, first of all, doomed to failure most of the time, and incredibly brittle and blind way to live. The very best thing that you can do is make the most intelligent, feelingful next step, and then see what happens. And then make the next intelligent, feelingful step based on that new situation. Aside from just not recognizing that you're actually in a world, the other kind of related mistake is that you're trying to do things in a solo kind of a way. First of all, as I've said many times before, you can't even take a breath with the whole world without a whole world supporting you. Who makes the atmosphere? You? No. We are not living individualistically. We are only thinking individualistically. And when we are in life situations that seem to have limitations or be difficult, or we don't know which way to go, or any most common situations, the way that other people can contribute and support and enrich is something that when we're in this individualistic solo mode, we never think of that. We never think of that. How other people might come into that matrix of our lives and support it in unexpected ways and add things to it and create new opportunities for us. We're always thinking about how can I make this happen and how can I make that happen. And we even feel proud of ourselves if we do it without help. I mean, first of all, that's just a lie that we tell ourselves that we're doing anything without help. You may not acknowledge the help that you're getting, but, every time you eat, you're relying on a vast network of helpers. But to even think that that's a good thing, that we're independent in that really stupid, crude way of doing things on our own, to think that that's a good thing is really to be far from nature. It's just to be a slave of some cultural idea. I got this long email from somebody yesterday outlining, well, if this happens, then that, and then option 2 is if this happens, then that, and then option 3 is this, and then somebody else told me this might happen in 5 years. It was just an insane email. But all couched in totally reasonable sounding language. Okay. If you want to experience the fruits of life that are possible for you in this lifetime, both in your relationship life, in your career life, in your spiritual life, if you separate those things, then you have to learn how to actually open up the intelligence of your body and your energy and your mind to your current situation and simply feel what the right thing to do is next. And then you see what the result of that is. And then you kind of go along like that, step by step. And along the way, absolutely noticing when help is available, noticing when other people are bringing resources into your life, noticing when there are opportunities to collaborate and make alliances with other people. These are the things that really make our lives successful. Right? Not going it alone. And certainly not planning and thinking about our lives as if we were these little atomistic balls, rolling along under our own power. So people who are really successful in life and get the most fulfillment out of this life are people who welcome alliances and connections, who acknowledge helpers, who value community and friendship and support, and who can give and receive that, and who understand that you are only one piece of a very, very big picture, and who are willing to understand their limitations and enter into situations where those limitations can be overcome with the help of other people. It is a fact that you don't do anything by yourself, ever. You can't even sit in your room by yourself. You may think you're by yourself, but you're not. Tremendous resources go into that moment. And there's always some sort of help available, whether subtle or gross. And we should welcome that. We need help. Everybody needs help. There is absolutely no value in being independent and thinking that we're steering the course of our own lives by ourselves. There is zero value in that. There's a value in being responsible. There's value in knowing when to be more aggressive and knowing when to lay back. But really, we're living in a soup of connections. And we can become sensitized to those in many, many different ways. But there are, even if we don't have that energetic sensitivity to just feel that, there's many literal ways in which we can just understand that we are never doing anything on our own. And it's always a worse outcome if you try to act that way. We have some very stupid ideas in our Western culture about independence. Most of those ideas about rugged individualism that we suffer from came from men who were totally bolstered by a whole substrata of servants and women. So put that in your pipe of independence and smoke it. Who made the pipe? Who grew the tobacco? The trees are producing the oxygen that we're breathing. It takes an entire world to make every moment. And even much more than you can see, many more subtle aspects of the world than most of you and even I can experience. So when we recognize that and play according to that, we are much more successful in life. We're much more fulfilled. We're much more in tune with nature, and we're more relaxed. Every single moment is arising in a fresh and new way. And when we move in the world, we're contributing to that, but we're only one little part of it. And so we always have to have our senses open, being essentially in open gate posture all the time, in order to be able to feel our way through life. We're really feeling our way through, and along with a lot of other people and plants and animals. And we really have to divest ourselves if we want to live in tune with nature and with the awakened state. We must divest ourselves of the notion that we can plan 10 steps ahead and have that be realistic. Sure, you can make a plan, but part of your plan has to be that it might all turn out differently. Why? Because you failed? No, because there's a whole world there, right? And you're not in control of that whole world. So part of the plan, any plan that you make, has to be absolute, no holds barred adaptability to new situations that arise. And all you can do is do your best and then see what happens. Most of the assumptions that people make about, in fact, I'd say all the assumptions that I hear students making when they're making some sort of long-term plan or projecting something into the future are just completely colored by their karmas. You know, you project a future that looks like your realm fixations. And if that's the future you want to have, you can just keep right on doing that. Usually it's a future, where there's a lot of fear expressed, or self-limiting is being projected, or grandiosity, whatever flavor you've got, right? That's the future you're projecting. It's much better to just act skillfully in the moment and then to see what the next moment brings. Really trying to feel things. And we have a lot of tools too. We can do our sadhana and try to invoke that in the moment, but we also have divination and astrology and, each other. There's a lot of tools that we have in the human realm that we can use to try to access this matrix of wisdom that we're immersed in at all times. I certainly would just be in such worse condition if it weren't for divination. Yeah. Divination's been one of the gurus of my life, for sure. You don't know what that is, Maya? Divination is some means, and there are many, many forms of divination. Every culture has its own forms. It's some means that's been developed over a long period of time to get a direct communication from wisdom. So divination methods are languages that we use to speak from a more gross realm into a more subtle realm and get an answer back. So things you're probably familiar with are like the I Ching or tarot cards, but every single culture there's divination with fire and water and birds and beads and coins and shells and rocks. There's just many, many, many forms of languages that are used to talk kind of between layers of reality and get access to our own enlightened wisdom, even when it's difficult for us to do that just on our own. There's sort of technologies to help people who aren't enlightened yet, and they work. And they're incredible teachers. The forms of divination are just incredible teachers. It's one of the ways you can learn to start listening to wisdom, to start listening to nature, and get out of your head and out of your karmic momentum. So I wonder how many people in this mandala can really access actual intelligence. Everybody here is very smart. We have a lot of really smart people in the mandala. But a lot of it's very just ordinary smartness. How subtle can you be in your approach to life? How can you access your real intelligence, which is your connection to nature, to livingness? How can you really access that direct intelligence, where you really get into the conversation with what's happening? You're not just having some sort of faux conversation about things in your head or with your friends who are also in that same condition of limitation. Thinking you can decide everything and figure everything out and explain everything. That's just such a brittle, dry, boring way to live. It's just really boring. Compared to the adventure of just being as skillful as you can in the moment with all the wisdom you can muster, and then just seeing what happens. Having confidence in that wisdom, that whatever happens, it's going to be the right open door for you. If you act as skillfully as you can in this moment, then a door will open. It may not be the door that your karmic mind would have chosen, but it's certainly going to be the best door for you. And after you live this way for a while, just doing your best, and of course you stumble too, but because we even, with a lot of tools, oftentimes we can't hear correctly. We do our best, but sometimes we have roaring karmas. And it's difficult. But we all know what it feels like when wisdom tells us what the next move should be. We all know what that feeling is. And imagine just living with that every moment. Imagine just following that in every moment. Just because it feels right. Without all the blah, 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 blah. That blah, 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 blah is not smart. It's just a trick. Most of the stuff that people consider to be smart in this culture is just not smart. Maybe it's fast. Maybe it's logical. Maybe it sounds good in some way. But it is not smart. Intelligence is relating to that intelligence. Relating yourself to that intelligence of nature or of essence nature. That is what is really smart. It's deeply smart, deeply intelligent. When you have that experience, you contact that intelligence, and then you can begin to experience that in yourself. Whatever led you to spiritual teachings, whatever keeps you here despite whatever other, blah, blah, blah is going on, that's your real intelligence. You have to listen to that more, cultivate that, follow that, and then you might have a chance of actually being smart. So I'm looking forward to our mandala of practitioners maturing and more people living in this really intelligent way. That's what I'm looking forward to. Some people are doing it more, but a lot of people are still playing it way too safe. Relying on your separative mind, that you learned all the little tricks of logic and common sense, and how to talk yourself out of things that are too scary, or all the ways that you try to secure your future in some way. That is what we have to find the courage to step away from. To be a lot more adventurous. And again, you can have some concept of adventurousness based on stupid mind. That's not what I'm talking about. When you really follow your wisdom, when you just deeply listen to your wisdom, you deeply listen to what nature is telling you, you deeply listen to things like divination, to the promptings of your own wisdom heart, when you deeply listen and you just follow, that is such an adventure. It's so brave. That's real bravery. It's fun. It's scary. It's thrills and chills. Seriously. It's so freeing to be able to do that without this tug of the stupidity that we call intelligence pulling at us all the time. When I walked out of my academic job, it was so much fun. I could have sat around for another year weighing the pros and cons, trying to make a deliberative, smart decision, but that would have been just so stupid. It's so freeing not to have to listen to that bullshit and to just feel the livingness of things and be able to respond. Jayakula is a nonprofit community offering opportunities to learn and practice in the direct realization traditions of Trika Shaivism and Dzogchen. We are based in Portland, Maine and Portland, Oregon. Visit jayakula.org to explore more of our offerings.